No. I totally understand where you're coming from when you say that. They did score three. I didn't say this in my monologue, actually. I will say I thought Kulusevski for Tottenham today actually looked really, really good. Man United, go and buy him in January, please. Go and buy him in January, please, because he is wasted at that football club. My football club's crap, but we will at least win some trophies, Kulu. So if you fancy something, you know what I mean? Come here, because I'd love him.
I thought he was the only Tottenham player today that deserves respect. Like, he can hold his head up high today, Kulusevski. He deserves respect. I know you conceded 6, but you can't blame Kulusevski for that shit. You just can't.
Yeah. Jacob, what did you make of today from a Spurs point of view? A lot of goals conceded. You did score some. Where'd your head at with this performance from your team today?
Well, first of all, big up to Hassam, all the Liverpool fans enjoying themselves today. I'm sure it's a great Sunday for them, and rightfully so. You score 6 in a win, you got to feel pretty good about that. Look, my overarching feeling is that these players really did the best that they could given the circumstances. Archie Gray's not a center back, but he looked better than the actual center back. Jed Spence could barely get a look in with what Conte, Stellini, Mason, Ainge sent him away. And then he's our best fullback on the day. I mean, I think there's a little bit more than Kulusevski that could hold their head up. But to me, the writing was on the wall when in the first couple minutes, Frazier Forster just kicks it straight to Mohamed Salah. There's one dude on the pitch to not kick the ball straight at. And it's the last one you're not supposed to, as a goalie, not supposed to kick the ball to the opposition. I thought he learned that lesson last week or the last game that we played where he kicked it twice to concede twice. And I was never a keeper that could play well with my feet either. So you know what I always did? I just kicked it. Who knows where it's going, but it ain't staying here. That's real simple. And I never played at any high level, but as a keeper who knew that I don't trust this ball at my feet, I kicked the ball away. And, to me, it really started there. At that moment, I was like, okay, we clearly haven't learned anything. We're going to do exactly what we did versus United, and Liverpool's going to punish us. And that's what continued to happen. Going up 2-1, I heard the opening monologue, and while I agree to some extent, like at 2-1, maybe you try to do something differently, but at the same time, as a man who's continuously stuck by what you are, what you say you do, I'm not surprised to see what we're doing. I'm not surprised to see that we continue to go for it. And there were times where, Liverpool did kind of let themselves out of the game and we scored a goal and then they got themselves back into it and tried to almost scored another 3. So it's like these players aren't good enough to play that style versus this level of competition in Liverpool. It's that simple, especially with the injuries we had. I would like our chances better. I would think it would be a lot closer. However, the result will probably be close to the same. Liverpool's been superior to Tottenham's squad for years. We didn't do enough in the summer to close a gap to a Liverpool or the people who are actually challenging for the league. So it's not a surprise. I'm not shocked. This is exactly where I thought we were. To be honest, I thought when it was 5-1, I was like, this actually really sucks. 6-3, I was like, well, I did get a punch in there before I got knocked out. That's nice. You did get a blemish. I may have been the loser, but I got a knock. So
I don't want to put you on the spot, Jacob.
There's really nothing.
Theory, please.
Well, it's already Maresca shattered my bald man theory.
Please.
No, until Maresca, Ainge hadn't lost to a bald manager, so I was feeling really nice. I felt like that was the only theory I could really hang on because the football was so up and down. You didn't know what to expect. Only thing I knew is if you're bald, you're getting beat, and Maresca broke that. And Klopp, Ainge's Arne Slot. Excuse me.
Do you know what's really funny about it? Someone put a comment here, said, Terry, would I swap Ange for Amorim? No, but it's not about Ange, okay? This is about your football club. Kate challenged me on something the other week about why would I give my club's project time, my manager time, but potentially not Spurs. And I've actually never said that you should sack Ange. But the fundamental difference is this. I believe Man United, with the right recruiters, have the money and the will to try and buy the players to make Amorim's system work, i.e., like what City did with Pep. like what Liverpool did with Klopp, and they've already got a great squad for slot system to work. I don't think this has changed that much in the last 20 or 30 years, but to make Big Ange's system work, you just need better players. I don't think his system looks problematic because you don't have the quality of personnel for it to produce consistent performances and results, because there's just substandard players that are in roles that need to be much better. The fear I have for Tottenham is I don't think you're ever going to either spend the money or have the pull or have the right recruiters or a combination of those three to ever build that squad. And that's just because I think there's a finite amount of players in the world who are good enough to play a style of football that rarely changes or yields. You look how City are struggling with 2 or 3 of their best players aging out and being injured. Their squad can't handle playing like it. So the idea of there being a Liverpool and there being a City and there being a Tottenham and there being an Arsenal and a Chelsea all in the same league that can play a brand of football where there barely has to be any adaptation. They can't. I mean, Maresca at Spurs, Maresca at Chelsea, he changes things. He does things. And I think that I'm not criticizing Ange, the coach. I understand what he wants to do. What I am looking at is it really going to work for Tottenham and what they're willing to give him? I'm not too sure. I think you maybe need not someone who's pragmatic, but you look at the Bournemouth manager, Dr. Octopus, as I like to call him. He does a lot of that the actor that played Dr. Octopus. I think that's the type of person you need. And that isn't me saying little Tottenham. It's not a dig. It's someone who can get a team to play really well consistently with a lesser squad, with a smaller budget, with I don't know. I'm just looking at it and thinking to myself, I'm beyond calling it naive what he did today. He's like, I play one way and one way only, whether I've got the players for it or not. That just doesn't work at this level. And I just think it's something that Spurs have to look at as a football club. It's not about saying he's a bad coach, a bad manager. I just can't understand why anyone, home or away, would ever play like they did today against this Liverpool team. It's suicide. I think most teams in the world, even the better ones than Spurs, what he did today was suicide. Pep Guardiola got to a point where he stopped opening up and being massively expansive against Liverpool because they were hurting him, and he had to adapt and change. And yeah, I just thought that was
Terry,
naive.
it reminds me, you'd understand this, like in the fighting world. In a sense, you're such a good knockout artist. Why are you going to learn the Muay Thai? Why are you going to learn the clinch? All you're going to learn is takedown defense and how to continue knocking people out. You're not going to really concern yourself with all the other. So I get it. Like, I agree. While I can say, okay, at this level, it's clearly there's a problem. You have to adapt when you have this many people missing. You look at the laundry list of players missing for this or that, the other. It is continually a problem. So.
That, though, if you want a great example of that, you look at Khabib. You look at Khabib. So if you look at Khabib as an example in the UFC, he was one of the best sort of grapplers and submission artists that the UFC has ever seen. Some people even think he's the GOAT overall. I still have a few people above him. He's amazing though. But what he had to do when he came to the UFC, as he was moving up the levels, he had to learn to become a much better stand-up fighter as well. He had to improve in other areas. He knew that he couldn't achieve what he did just being world class at one particular area. And for Big Ange, when you're in the sort of, if you're an MMA fighter, there's loads of other associations that don't have the same level of quality. So you can get away with being a knockout artist only in some of them.
Yeah.
You can get away with being an amazing grappler and winning always by submission. Once you're in the UFC, you have to become more rounded. And some fights, I'm going to be on my feet more. Or you might be against a guy that's a better grappler than you. So actually, I'm going to try and keep this one on my feet, because if I go on the ground, and I think that's where Big Ange struggles. It's just, well, I'm just going to do what I'm good at, regardless of who I'm up against. And I think when you get to the elite level, I think managing in the Prem, managing in La Liga, the 2 best leagues in the world, I think you have to have more to your game unless your team and squad is superior to everybody else. You're always going to have matches like today, you know?
A left side with Jed Spence and Archie Gray going against Salah was always going to be a problem.
Yeah, but you knew that headed into the game and you still chatted shit. So why do you say
well, of course. What else am I going to do? I know which way the boat's going, baby, but I'm still swinging.
You know, today you got slapped up by two things were rejected you. Luis Diaz and Arne Slot.
Yeah.
See how I'm not saying anything to any Spurs fan. Khalas, our beef ended last year. It's done now. But you see, you specifically.
Well, you know,
Luis
I can
Diaz
still.
said
The
no
last
to
time
you and
Klopp ever went to
slapped you
Tottenham
up,
Hotspur Stadium, he did get a big
and
fat L,
Klopp
so he
said
can hold
no
that.
to you and slapped you up. So have some shame.
Yeah, well, the shame went out the door whenever Klopp did, and that was with an L.